Thank you and welcome to the show this morning. The topic this morning is the many faces of despair. And we're fortunate to have with us to talk about the many faces of despair, Dr. CPoe, a psychiatrist in Nashville, Tennessee. And of course, Dr. Poe, let me welcome you to the show this morning.
Thank you very much, Dr. Henry.
And indeed, Dr. Poe, it's hard to really introduce you to this audience because I'm sure that many of them have had an opportunity to see and to hear you on many, many occasions. And so, what we would like to do is to identify perhaps a few who might not know Dr. CPoe, and to have you to give us, for them, some information in relationship to your background, your education, and some of your experiences, and then we'll talk about the many faces of despair.
Dr. Henry, I'm originally from Eustis, Florida, grew up in Sarasota, Florida, came to Nashville in 1956 to attend Tennessee State University. I finished there in 1960. I went to Meharry, finished Meharry Medical College in 1964, did an internship in Chicago. I was drafted in my internship and spent a few months in Korea. This was after the Korean conflict. I was in the military for 2 years, came back to Nashville, Tennessee in 1976. Took a job at Meharry. Stayed there for about 7 years and worked at Middle Tennessee Mental Health Institute. And so I've worked in various psychiatric facilities throughout the state. I've also had a radio program called Forgiveness Today. We were on the air for about 7 years up until about 6 months ago. I've also co-authored a book called Imogene Reborn, and I've just completed another manuscript entitled The Prayer Response. So we've had a diversity of experiences.
And indeed, you are a busy man, Dr. Poe. Dr. Poe, what we'd like to do today is to talk about the many faces of despair. And perhaps you could use the remaining part of the first part of this show to give us some kind of definition in terms of despair, because I think that in terms of the overall economy, the overall attitude that people have in reference to what is going on today, that this ought to be a very, very helpful piece of information for a large number of people. So let's look at it from that perspective.
Yes. Let me also say that I'm a minister and a psychiatrist. I've pastored 2 churches here in Nashville, Tennessee, Spruce Street Baptist Church and First Community Church. But in terms of a definition of despair, despair is a biopsychosocial spiritual condition. It's characterized by feelings of hopelessness, helplessness, powerlessness, worthlessness. Oftentimes a person has a wish to die. In some cases, a wish to end their life. In other cases, the wish to be killed. And in some few cases, a person in a condition of despair may have a desire to kill other persons or another person and themselves.
Well, so despair is something that in a real sense it's present everywhere. And that there's no area that you can go into without running across individuals who are in a state of despair. Is that what we're saying?
Yes, despair is very widespread, Dr. Haney, and has many different manifestations, many of which are not recognized as faces or manifestations of despair. It's very widespread.
Well, let's start talking about some of the faces, and I like that title, the faces, indicating that at one time it will hit this group and at another time and except. Why don't you start talking about that, and then we'll elaborate upon that during the second segment.
Okay. Well, for example, depression, major depression, or bipolar disorder, anxiety disorders, panic disorder, oftentimes, I believe, are manifestations of unresolved despair. Now, a person can enter a condition of despair as a result of being abused. Abused in their childhood and or adolescence and or adult life. In addition, a person can enter a condition of despair as a result of engaging in self-centered behavior or pleasure-driven behavior over a period of time. Of course, despair also may be the result of both of those particular factors. course, there are some other causes of despair as well, but despair may have many different causes and may manifest, as I said before, in the form of major depression and mental illnesses in general.
Okay, Dr. Poe, let us take this first commercial break, and then we'll come back and we'll examine some of the many faces of despair, because the information you're giving us now would indicate that this should have an appeal to a large number of folks who are often caught up in what we might call this kind of despair. Of course, we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. The guest is Dr. CPoe1.